Hello guys, how you doing this evening? I want to do a Bitcoin report. Now here's the thing. Bitcoin is extremely deflationary. And what have we been used to all the way through history with our paper currencies? Every single one of them, since the very inception, have always been inflationary. And the reason why they're inflationary is the powers that be, the decree, they're issued by decree, and this is what gives them value. The government issues them by decree, fiat currencies. They all have something in common, a common characteristic, and that is that the governments that print them can create as much as they want. They're in control, and they create the money, and they create as much as they want. But now, we're moving into the era of digital currencies, and these most of the digital currencies have something in common. And what they have in common is that they have a program that controls how much of the currency is created. And that program dictates that the currencies are deflationary. So we've been dealing with inflationary currencies forever. And we're used to that. We're used to prices always being higher. And like when you go to buy something, the next year you go to buy it. Say you go to buy a shovel. This year it's $11.98. Next year you're used to it being $14.98. And the year after that, $21.50. Every year. We're used to that. We've never had deflationary currencies where it works in the opposite. Like you go in one year and the shovel is $12.99. And you go in the next year it's $8.99. And you go in the next year it's $5.99. And then $3.99. What will that do to our whole society? Our whole way of thinking, and the whole structure of the way we work and the way we save money. The reason why we spend money right now is because we know it's going to cost more next year. And why save your money if you know prices are going to be constantly going up? It doesn't make so much sense to save your money, especially when the banks don't give you much interest. But now if we move into these digital currencies as money, and this is what it looks like where we're headed, we're all of a sudden going to be making a shift where savings is going to really pay off, because each individual person also at the same time can become their own bank. Now there's another added thing to this, and I've tried to point this out, and most people who are into cryptocurrencies, they don't see this, but it should be blatantly obvious. The fact that, myself included, I've had cryptocurrencies in different wallets and stuff. You know, and you always tend to leave a little bit. Like you make your transaction, say you clean your wallet out and put it into a different wallet. There's always like 0.00003 left. And you're like, it's not enough to make a transaction. It's not enough to fool around with. You don't end up going back to the wallet. And it ends up getting locked away in some computer, and then you forget about it, and later you throw the computer in the garbage. Well, all of that might not seem to matter too much, all those 0.003s and 0.004s, but they nibble away at the overall amount of the digital currency in question. This is a nibbling, like I'll call it a nibbling process, but it gets worse. Sometimes people have large voluminous amounts of cryptocurrency, and they lose it by one means or another. We're going to take a look at a case example right here. Let's get the chart started right here and look at this. What we got is the founder of Quadriga Exchange. Just happened. The guy had some sort of Crohn's disease or something. That's basically what that is it just means your bowels are twisting in a knot. You know, and I mean it's very painful from what I understand, but it's like bad bowels. Bad bowels is what it is. He must have died in agony or whatever, but anyway, he died and he took the passwords with him for $190 million. Let me put my glasses on here and read a little bit of this. It says, the unexpected deceased boss of Quadriga CX is the only one to have had the keys to the most important wallet. It's creditor protection request rather unusual sort. Customers of Quadriga CX deposited $190 million in the form of cryptocurrencies and fiat money on the cryptocurrency exchange. They may never see their money again, even though it's still there. the background in the death of Gerald Cotton, founder of his platform. He died unexpectedly in December of last year on a trip to India as a result of autoimmune disease, Crohn's disease. That's bowel disease. He's said to have known the only passwords for the cold storage in which the majority of the cryptocurrencies were deposited. You can just bet that the other guys that are heads are trying to figure out what his password is. They've probably tried for weeks now to figure it out, and they can't figure it out. And so he's went to his death, this guy, and he's taken 190 million of cryptocurrency off of the scene. That means those bitcoins, they're probably gone for good. And this is more than a nibbling. It happens over and over and over again. The net effect of this is to reduce that 21 million original bitcoins. That's the perfect example. That's like if everything went right, nobody lost one bitcoin ever anywhere, there'd be 21 million. But this process right here is going to be repeated over and over again into the future even. So it's going to cut that amount of bitcoins down to where it's going to nibble away at it to where it's going to be less and less. So not only is it deflationary at 21 million, when you get this nibbling process happening at the same time, it makes it extremely deflationary. That deflationary process adds to the ever-increasing price as well. So if this spreads out, Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency spread out to become this new money for the new age, for the new electronic internet, money for the internet. And value gets transferred into them. Massive amounts of value from everything in the world, all the goods, services, real estate, properties, gold, silver, everything gets transferred into that. Well, you're going to have a currency that's like nothing we've ever seen before, a currency where the people that have even a little bit of it in savings are going to be able to sit back and have that grow year from year to year to year to year. They're going to be the haves. Those people will be the haves. And the people who don't have it, watching its price spiral upwards every year, are going to have to work harder and harder for smaller and smaller amounts of it. And they're never going to be able to save or get ahead. This is going to create a structure of a society where it's going to change everything about our industry, how we work. Our whole structure of society is going to change if cryptocurrencies become the money of the future. Have we really sat down and have we thought this out and actually analyzed what this would actually mean? To have a deflationary currency rather than an inflationary currency. I could see it chopping away at productivity, where the haves basically grow fatter and richer, and the have-nots have to work harder and harder and harder for smaller and smaller amounts of this cryptographic currency. I can't really completely see the scenario in my head, but the picture that's forming is not really good. It's almost like a feudalistic type society, where, like we had in the Middle Ages, where you had the guy. See, gold is the same way. Back then, instead of owning a bit of Bitcoin, the guy would own a bag of gold. And he'd have it hidden under his bed or whatever. Well, that bag of gold would represent his wealth, and that was the reason why he was the landowner. He owned the house, and he had the maids and servants and everything else. And the other guy that just maybe lived next door was a pauper, and he didn't have much. His house wasn't good, wasn't nice. He didn't have any servants or anything else, and he had to work every day, all day long. That type of society that we had that type of society when we were on a gold standard, and we used to live with gold, because it's deflationary. And then what happened was the goldsmiths came along, and they started to write checks. They'd say, okay, give us your gold, we'll hold it for you guys, right? And we'll give you a claim check. Say, here's a claim check for the gold. It says you own the gold, right? And so what happened was the people that own the claim checks started to use the claim checks as money for the goldsmith. And the goldsmith wrote more claim checks than he had gold in the vaults because it was a good racket. That's what became the bankers later. The goldsmiths became the bankers later. It all came about from the Middle Ages and the goldsmiths that were holding the gold for people. Because why they let the goldsmiths hold the gold? They didn't want to keep it under their bed anymore because they knew somebody might steal it, and then the guy that stole it would become the rich guy. All of a sudden he would be the pauper. They just switched positions. So they gave it to the goldsmiths for safe holding, and he gave them a claim check. And that claim check became what we have today as paper money. Because the goldsmiths, they always wrote more claim checks than they had gold. And this is where we got our fractional reserve banking system from, because the banks today always write more credits, which is paper money, than they have money on hand. It's the same way today. This is why they're terrified of bank runs, a run on the banks, because they do not have enough actual physical money in existence to pay out all of the claims that they have for you, me, and everybody else in our bank account. We're claiming that if we all come in and claim it at once, the paper, they don't have enough paper to go around. They know it. And it would be like game over for the banking system. In fact, they don't have 1/10. In fact, I'll tell you what it works out to. You got $1 in the bank? Do you know how much they're holding? They're holding, for every dollar you have in the bank, they're holding less than 1 penny. All right? So it's good enough if there's 1,000 people in your particular bank, and they each hold $1,000. 1,000 people each hold $1,000 in your particular bank. They don't have that million. What they might have is 10,000 or whatever. That's all right. Just if one guy comes in and decides to take his $1,000 out, that's fine. Or if even 10 guys come in and decide to take their 10,000 out. But if all 1,000 people came in at once and said we all want our money, they don't have it. That's called a bank run. They don't have the money, and they're scared to death of bank runs. So anyway, that's the way it goes. And thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next show. Bye-bye, guys.